holiday your way. Visit sunway.ie or contact your local travel agent.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Don't live your life on hold. Get a quote now at itsforwomen.ie and see why we're trusted by over 130,000 women in Ireland.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
Welcome back to Thursday's Off the Ball. It's 7:30, so as always, it's time to talk to John Giles. Evening, John.
Evening, Nathan.
So, a week of cups, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and we might start with that Manchester derby on Tuesday night. City winning by 3-1, 3-0 at half-time, and we were talking here in studio, this was looking like one of those nights where if it gets to 6-7 by the end of the game, we may well be talking about the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. United got a bit of credibility, got the goal through Marcus Rashford, but was there anything there to suggest that there was a bit of fight, a bit of tactical ingenuity at half-time from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that kept them in the game?
I would say it was more City than United that were responsible for that. I'm very, very disappointed with City in the second half, Nathan. They took their foot off the gas, as they say, and allowed United to come back into it. First half, we were very, very good. United were terrible, absolutely terrible. But I think City went soft on them, Nathan, and they could pay the price for it. You know, I think this match, if they played like they played or tried to play in the second half like they did in the first, could have been all over and should have been all over. And I was, to be honest, I was very disappointed with City in the second half.
Why does that happen, that taking the foot off the gas, particularly in a game like a Manchester derby where you thought players would like to go and actually humiliate Manchester United? It felt as though City were quite comfortable with what they thought would have been a 3-0 win. Well,
it's very unlike Guardiola. You know, he doesn't usually hang back, Nathan. We saw him in the cup final last year when he beat Watford. Was it 7-0? You know, he's never been easy on his opponents, and I don't know what happened there in the second half. It wasn't like them. It wasn't typical Manchester City. Typical Manchester City was to go at them and beat them 6-0. They didn't do so, and as we saw, United pulled the goal back. It's now 2 goals advantage to City rather than having to tie all over. So I must say I was disappointed with United for nearly the 90 minutes. Never mind for City's second half, very disappointed in them. But United were terrible at a time when it really mattered in the first half. Nathan, playing at home in a match as important as that, and they took Lingard off at half time, as we know. Well, he hasn't kicked the ball for 12 months, I don't think. But generally speaking, it should have been a really, really walkover for City.
United being terrible, when you looked at that starting 11 before the start of the match, did you think they'd be any better than that?
Oh, yeah, well, the first thing you start was a bit of fight, Nathan. You know, like you get tight in the opposition no matter what even I know Maguire didn't play and 1 or 2 players didn't play. But there was no fight in them. There was no go in them to get tight in Manchester City, to let Manchester City do what they wanted. And don't forget, it wasn't a full Manchester City team because neither Aguero or Jesus played. You know, they played without a centre forward. Now, they were very, very good in what they did. But there was no fight or go or in Manchester United. That was the disappointing part. I think even Solskjaer said it the next day. That's what he was most disappointed about, that they weren't getting tight on them. They weren't really having a go, and they gave everything to City in the first half.
A lack of fight, is that his responsibility?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. Things that happen now don't happen overnight, Nathan. This has been going on for a while at the club. We've got the Pogba problem that's still there. You know, I know Maguire was out injured, but there was no. You just look at Manchester United, and you never see any consistency about them, Nathan, and what they're doing. I mean, they had a bad time against Arsenal as well. They were hopeless against Arsenal as well. So we're just looking for is fight. And if the man is there, I think it was 12 months just the other day, then you want to be seeing progress in it. You want to see this is a team. They mightn't be quite there yet, but they're on their way. I don't feel that with Manchester United at all. They get one play well once, and then the next 3 or 4 matches, they're bad again. There's no consistency about them, and I don't think they're going in the right direction anyway.
We've spoken a lot about the running of the club and the transfers and how that side works. But again, when you go back and you look at the players that are there, are they actually capable of much more than that?
Well, they showed that at times, Nathan. They've had a few good results where they go out and you say, well, that team, they played well, they're on their way now. And then the following week, they're as bad as they were previous to a good match. So there's no consistency about them. When the team has been run properly, then you see an improvement, and at least they have the same type of performance the next week or slightly down, but then they pick it up again. But Manchester United, it's dramatic change, from being terrible to being reasonably good. And that's no good to anybody. And I think if you see a team on the way up, then they're on the way up. But you don't see that. I don't see that with Manchester United at all.
That tactical change that Manchester City made and leaving Aguero and Jesus on the bench and going with Sterling and Mahrez basically as the strikers and playing Bernardo Silva a little bit deeper. And Kevin De Bruyne was saying that it was something they basically practiced for 15 minutes on the training ground that day, that they tried it a couple of other times this season against certain sides. Should United have been able to respond to that? Like when they saw the team named, or even in the first 15 minutes, should they have been able to realise on the pitch what City were trying to do and counter it?
Well, of course, Nathan. I mean, don't forget, if Guardiola only did this for 15 minutes in a practice match, then he's taken a chance on it. Like to the victor, the spoils. And when I read in the papers afterwards, Guardiola's great tactical switch. It wasn't a great tactical switch in terms of Manchester United. The way Manchester United approached the match, they could have had Joe Bloggs and Billy Bloggs up front, and they would have had a good game. You have to go out and take the game on its merits. No matter what the team, Guardiola does, you got to fight that, and you got to fight, and you got to fight for every ball. And it didn't matter. I mean, obviously people are saying, well, what a tactical move and that. Like the tactical move didn't come into it. Manchester United played with the spirit and all the spirit that they should be playing with, Nate. Guardiola might have finished up a clown. They just didn't do anything about it. It wasn't a great tactics for Manchester United. For City that won the game. It was Manchester United's approach to the game as a team, as individual players. They weren't there. There was no fight in them. There was no go in them. And you could play without a centre forward against a team that's doing that, and you'd still win, Nathan. It wasn't because Guardiola was so great in his tactics that was responsible for Manchester United playing the way they did. It was a lack of spirit and a lack of go and a lack of fight in them.
But the fact that he was able to make that change, and it did seem to have quite an impact, and like City played in that first half, certainly that first 30-35 minutes, seemed to play exceptionally well. Is that down simply to the quality and the intelligence of the players that he has there, that when you explain these things, they pick them up very quickly?
Exactly, Nathan. Imagine what could have been the case if Aguero and Jesus played. It could have been 6-0 at half-time, the way Manchester United approached it. It's not just... Manchester City obviously approached it in the right way, going into the game. Okay, they played without what's called a recognised centre-forward. But there was no resistance to it. You could have played anybody up front. They still would have won 3 or 4, or got 3 or 4 goals by half-time. What was disappointing about City is that they stopped playing in the second half themselves. They could have finished it off, Nathan. They had the chances to do it. And Manchester City were poor in the second half. Very poor.
And I know at times over the past few weeks, and listen, they are so far behind Liverpool, it's hard not to be critical considering the standards they've set, that you've been critical of Manchester City and maybe the attitude at times, and a lot goes back to that Newcastle game and John Joe Shelby's shot from the edge of the area where nobody closed them down, which feels like it wasn't the sort of thing that happened last season. Is that just a continuation of that the attitude of the City players is just slightly different than it was 12 months ago?
Oh, there's no doubt, Nathan. I don't remember Manchester City playing in the second half against a team that they were 3-0 up last season. Actually, I think it's probably maybe this season, but this was more obvious than any other match that I've seen City do that. They're not the Manchester City team that was there last year, Nathan. There's no doubt last season. And I think we've spoken about that before. Obviously they can be very, very good, and they were very good. They were actually brilliant in the first half. But they're not the Manchester City team, in my opinion, that we see in winning the Premier League and other cups in the last couple of seasons.
We do need to take a quick break in a moment, and I want to talk about the Liverpool-Everton game as well and some of the storylines around that Merseyside derby. Just from an Irish point of view, it's been a good week in that a lot of young players have got game time in the FA Cup. Obviously, the bigger sides rotate players, even some of the sides struggling rotate players in the FA Cup. And Adam Ida is one of the players who made a huge impression, scored that hat-trick for Norwich last weekend. There's talk he might actually start against Manchester United for Norwich at the weekend. We Keith Andrews on earlier in the show, and he's obviously involved with the Irish under-21s. He said, it's so difficult for these players now that at times you're almost too close to the first team squad, that they won't let you go out on loan, so you can't really get enough experience, but you're sort of third choice striker and you're not getting enough game time. Do you feel that's been a big change, one of the big struggles for Irish players in more recent times, that they're just not getting enough time on the pitch, so we're really struggling to judge them?
Well, to be fair, I think most of the young players at most of the Premiership clubs now, Nathan, it's very difficult to get a lot of playing time. If you look at the lads who have to go out on loan, lads who are at clubs, the clubs now in the Premiership can't afford to take chances on young lads in many ways. They need results straight away, Nathan. But I think it's a very, very good sign that the young players that we've seen. Whose lad scored a hat-trick last week for Norwich?
Adam Ida.
We've got three. We've got Connolly as well. And what's the other lad's name at Southampton?
Michael Obafemi.
They're three very, very good players. And we haven't had players like that, strikers like that for a long time, with the promise that these lads have. They'll get that chance. They'll get the chance. And there's nothing wrong with playing at the international as well. To play in the first team at international level. If they're good enough for the Premiership, although they're only coming in and out, they could still play for us in the first team, Nathan. I think it's very, very promising from our point of view.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big talking point, I'd imagine, over the next couple of months, considering that the international squad have had such difficulty scoring goals throughout this campaign. Mick McCarthy, I'd imagine, is going to come under quite a bit of pressure to take. I don't know how much of a risk it is if you're going to throw in a 19, 20-year-old into what is such an important European Championship qualifier. Is it just a risk at this stage he has to take?
I don't find it. I wouldn't find that a risk, Nathan, because are they better than the players that we already have, despite the age? Never mind the age. Are they better? I think I was a little bit disappointed that Connolly didn't play last year after he scored the two goals for
Brighton.
Brighton, was it?
Yeah.
That he didn't put him in straight away. Because, even if he didn't play well, he was going to play as well as anybody else that was playing. So I wouldn't be too bothered about him getting experience in the first team. We've talked about this before. I mean, you go back to a few players. Liam Brady, for example, wasn't an experienced player for Arsenal when he played in his international match. I think he was only 19. You look at lots of players, and they're not getting a lot of games, but they can still go into the international team and do it. Are they the best we've got? Then you go with them.
All right, we do need to take a very quick break. 53106 is the text number. John Giles is live on the line. We're going to reflect on that Merseyside derby right after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power.
The greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
Moncrief.
Jimmy texted in to say Elvis has in fact been living here in Leitrim in anonymity for years. He's a lovely dormer bungalow, the far side of Drumsna. Plays in the local tailors every second Friday under the pseudonym Vegas Val. Lovely fella, says Jimmy.
Moncrief.
With the all-new Dacia Duster.
Weekdays from 2 p.m.
Jeez, we're going to Drumsna this weekend.
We're going to get Henry on the road immediately to go and talk to Vegas Val.
On News Talk.
The Dunnes Stores baby event is back. You'll find 3 for €25 on selected Pampers Jumbo Plus and Premium Protection Jumbo Pants, as well as fantastic offers in Very Known Biopods 38s and Pampers 12-pack wipes. Plus, with our 10/50 grocery voucher, you save more each time you shop. Dunnes Stores, always better value. See online for terms and conditions. Minimum spend required.
Get health insurance from as little as €10.27 a week. Because we all need a healthy mind as well as a healthy body to embrace life's changes. Search Select Starter to find out more. We know Irish Life. We are Irish Life Health. Prices for one adult with no lifetime community rating loading. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
Mattresses-delivered.ie. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered.ie. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
I want beautiful golden sunrises, sparkling blue waters,
last-minute deals, first-class hotels,
top not beaches. Bottomless brunches.
To hit the open road.
Wind through narrow streets.
Soak up some culture.
Sizzle by the pool.
There's a holiday for everyone at Sunway. With great value offers, last minute deals and low deposits. What are you waiting for? Sunway, your holiday, your way. Visit sunway.ie or your local travel agent.
Love every step, especially the little ones. Like that Friday evening feeling when you kick off your shoes, feel the cosy carpet under your feet and know the weekend is in front of you.
When I see the pup excitedly slipping across the hardwood floor, welcoming me as I come through the front door.
Every Saturday morning, when I hear the girls' giggles as they're sprawled on the living room carpet watching TV. TC Matthews, love every step. Winter sale now on, with free underlay on selected carpets. T's and C's apply. Visit one of our 11 showrooms today.
Are you looking for a new phone and want to know you're getting the best deal in town this new year? At Carphone Warehouse, we've got unmissable deals in store now. Get the Samsung S10 for free and a free Samsung Galaxy Watch Active. Yes, that's a free phone and a free smartwatch. This offer is available on a €60 a month plan when you switch to Vodafone at Carphone Warehouse. For expert advice on your mobile phone plan, exclusive offers and the latest handsets, get into one of our 82 Carphone Warehouse shops near you. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to availability and 24-month contract.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Jeff and Heskey.
You're welcome back. John Giles is still on the line. John, just to go back to last weekend in the third round of the FA Cup, the Merseyside derby was the big game. Liverpool won, very young side, but they beat an experienced Everton team with Carlo Ancelotti there and a long, barren spell without a cup. And it's been a bad first couple of weeks, it feels, for Ancelotti in terms of that result being the main one, but also what's gone on off the pitch. Their director of football, Marcel Brands, had a bit of an incident with some supporters after that game. There was some questions about Fabian Delph on social media, and he had a couple of issues with a couple of supporters. But also what happened in the dressing room that was reported on The Athletic by a couple of their reporters, that Duncan Ferguson tore into the players after the performance against Liverpool. But the players weren't having any of it, that they fired back at Duncan Ferguson, insisting that they gave the role, blaming Carlo Ancelotti's setup and tactics for the loss. And it just doesn't seem like a very happy camp just two weeks into it, having a new manager.
Anything but. He's got a big job on his hands, Ancelotti, Nathan, as we well know, even gone on that particular match. But, you know, you have to go back to basics here. What's Duncan Ferguson doing in the dressing room now? And what role does Duncan Ferguson have to be able to get stuck into the players?
Well, he's one of his assistant managers.
Well, in my experience, now you go into a club, you have to have your own men. You have to pick your own men, because the manager is the manager, and this is my take on it anyway. Nobody should say anything in the dressing room, the staff, without the permission of the manager. Now, we know Ancelotti definitely hasn't employed Duncan Ferguson. Ferguson was there to do a job till a new manager came in. What he's doing in the dressing room now, I don't know. He shouldn't be there, right? And you'll find that with Duncan making some of the decisions he made in the few matches he was there, there's no doubt he would have made enemies among the squad, Nathan, because he left a few players out. Now, those players would only be waiting to have a go at him when they possibly could. And Ancelotti had no control, I'd say, over what was happening in the dressing room. You know, this is a bad start for Ancelotti. When you go into a club, you're the manager. You're the only one can talk at half-time and full-time. If you have a scout, then you can say, a second in command. You say, have you got anything to say? But it's with his permission. So it's a mess. It's a mess. He's got to sort out, first of all, the Duncan Ferguson situation.
It does feel rather unusual in that generally when we hear of that manager-assistant manager relationship, that good cop, bad cop, that the manager is the bad cop and the assistant is the good cop who sort of puts his arm around the players. It's almost flipped here, that Ancelotti, it sounds as though, has taken a step back, and Ferguson has felt that he's the one who, maybe having tapped into that emotion when he was the manager and feeling that he's got such a strong bond with the supporters and what it should mean to play for Everton, that he feels as though he can be the bad guy here to remind the players what it means to play for the club.
Look, the general principle is he shouldn't be there, right? He's not employed. He's not Ancelotti's man, Nathan, right? He obviously, Ancelotti's just come into the club. Ferguson has done a job over the last few weeks, which he's done a good job in many ways, of course. But he's not Ancelotti's man. And he shouldn't be allowed, even if he was Ancelotti's man, right? You're not, in my opinion, this, if it's run properly, this rivalry with great managers, they don't let anybody say anything without their permission. Do you get what I'm at?
You don't think it's possible then that actually Ancelotti looked at that performance and thought Duncan Ferguson is exactly what they need now?
No, this is on the early days. This is what the second time that he's taken charge of the team. And what I'm saying is a second in command is very, very important to the manager. And I know that from experience. You have to have people in the dressing room that you're second in command or third in command that you trust. You absolutely trust. But he's your man. And you have to establish, don't say anything until I ask you to say something. Do you know what I mean, Nathan?
Yeah.
You be close with them, but they don't have the right. That after the match, you can talk all week about what you could have done, what you should have done. But in the dressing room after a match like that, at half time, right, you wouldn't have a Duncan Ferguson in the room, Nathan.
But he's assistant manager.
Yeah, but who's made him assistant manager?
Well, presumably Ancelotti.
Well, he
had
has.
to
I
approve
don't
it.
think that's the case. I mean, this guy was very, very, very close with the chairman, the ex-chairman there, and he did a job for it. But what job was Ferguson doing before he took over as manager, Nathan? I don't think he was in the dressing room with the other managers.
He was certainly around the first team squad.
Yeah, I know around is different. One thing's them being in there saying things in the dressing room. Do you understand? Yeah, but he's not, like, Ancelotti doesn't know him. How would he know him? How could he be his second in command, coming into a dressing room after a bad defeat and him giving the players a telling off?
Does the fact that he then agreed to having Ferguson as assistant manager suggest that perhaps
manager? Yeah,
does it suggest that maybe Ancelotti isn't taking it that seriously?
Nathan, you have to have your own people, people that you know, people that you trust. Right now, I don't think he know. How could he know Ferguson? How could he trust him to do what he needs to be done? And when you get somebody like that in the dressing room, has been the manager for a few matches, there'll be a lot of players didn't like him. I can assure you of that. Okay. Now he's saying things in the dressing room, giving them a telling off. Apparently, but what's Ancelotti there for? He's the manager. Nathan, you don't let anybody say anything in the dressing room as a manager without you giving them permission to do it. That is your man. Can you imagine Ferguson, for example, in his heyday, right, letting Brian Kidd give the players a telling off? Doesn't happen, Nathan. What happens there actually with players? You lose all respect for the manager, allowing somebody else to do that. That's the way it works. You know, you have to have people that you trust. Like if you're having a second in command in the dressing room, you have to trust him. It has to be established. Don't say anything unless I want you to say it.
Was Duncan Ferguson right in what he was saying?
I don't know. I mean, Everton were terrible, as we know. And it's another question of if he's right what he's saying. If there's something right to be said, it should be the manager saying it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that happens in the dressing room. Because what'll come down, when Ferguson's saying what he said and the players didn't like it, what they'll do is lose respect for Ancelotti for allowing it to happen. He's the manager. He's the boss. He's the only one that can say anything, right? Unless he asks his coach, which he trusts and trusts very, very much, have you got anything to say? Once Ferguson, I'd say there was murder in the dressing room when Ferguson opened his mouth to give them a telling off. Because their reaction, well, who are you talking to? You're not the manager. There's the manager there. If he wants to say that, he should be saying it, not you. It's a very delicate situation in the dressing room. Like I would have thought after the Everton, the Liverpool match last week, I think Ancelotti's approach would have been, right, that was terrible, right? Get in now, get into the dressing room, we'll have a chat about that tomorrow or the day after. And if Ferguson opened his mouth to say, hold on, I have enough, I've said what I want to say, I don't want anybody else to say anything. That's the end of it. See, I don't know what he's doing in the dressing room anyway. He wouldn't have appointed him assistant manager, Nathan. You don't appoint anybody assistant manager that you don't know. It has to be somebody you really know and really trust. To have them in the dressing room as assistant manager, being able to say what they want to say. It doesn't work that way.
Do you think then, and listen, it was a surprising appointment considering Ancelotti's success through the years, that he decided to go to Everton, where there isn't probably the calibre of player right now that he's used to dealing with. Now maybe they go and they invest and he gets that, but do you think the fact that he just went along with Duncan Ferguson as assistant manager suggests that maybe he's not taking this job totally seriously, that he's not fully invested in it, that he was just happy to go along with that?
Well, I'd be surprised at him taking anybody that he didn't know as the assistant manager, if he is the assistant manager. Has he actually been hired as assistant manager now?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised at that. He's a very, very experienced manager. He's been a great player. He's won trophies everywhere that he's been. He's been brilliant. And one of the principles of management is you don't have anybody as assistant manager unless you employ him as the assistant manager. And usually assistant managers, Nathan, as somebody that you really, really trust and you really know over a long period of time. And that's not happening. That's a step in the wrong direction. Well, look, it's only a couple of matches that he's and apparently there was murders in the dressing room, wasn't there? Murders. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, the players didn't take it too kindly.
No, but the players, you see, the players would have had their own relationship with Ferguson over the few, even though it was only a few matches. Now, in those few matches, he substituted players, he's left players out. They're not going to like him, you know.
Yeah.
He's not, and he's the assistant manager. Now, you know, I'm amazed that Ancelotti has taken anybody as assistant manager if they're not his assistant manager or assistant in the dressing room. I'm amazed at that. And it doesn't look good for Ancelotti. In fact, it looks very, very bad for him.
We've got to leave it at that, John. Great stuff as always. We shall talk to you next Thursday.
Okay, Nathan, thanks.
John Giles there, as always, 7:30 every Thursday here on Off the Ball. If you missed any of that, we've just been talking about everything. We were chatting about the Manchester derby a little before that. It'll be all up on offtheball.com, or if you want to listen to it, you can download the Go Loud app. So we're going to be talking Gaelic football primarily between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Mike Quirk, a regular pundit here on Off the Ball, he's jumped ship. He's gone to the dark side and he has put his money where his mouth is and taken over the Laois senior footballers, and he's going to talk to us about that decision between 8 and 9, and also the news today that Donegal have pulled out of the Dr. McKenna Cup because of the clash with the Sigerson Cup. We're going to talk about the pre-season competitions, the importance of them, and the player welfare issues. Jamie Wall and Amy McGee joining us just after 8 o'clock.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Have you checked out the new Red Cow Moran Hotel? Wow, the sky really is the limit as we've added another 2 floors. The new superior bedrooms of this iconic hotel now boast their own winter gardens and panoramic views over the city. Red Cow Moran Hotel, transforming before your eyes. Visit redcowmoranhotel.com.
Look forward to sailing to France this summer with Stena Line. The sun, the fun, the wine, sublime. Sail from Rosselair to Cherbourg with super friendly staff dedicated to making you smile. Plus book your French summer now and get 10% off and a free trip to Britain. Look forward, book forward at stenaline.ie.
Introducing the all-new Renault Capture. Whether you're hitting town or the open road, popping a mountain bike on the back or a buggy in the boot, it's the car for all your lives. And with savings of €3,500 guaranteed with Renault Carbon Rewards, you're rewarded for choosing a cleaner car. Visit your local Renault dealer today. Renault, voted Manufacturer of the Year by Top Gear. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
VHI Healthcare have gone beyond insurance with specialist clinics and care just for our members. Join now for access to our Swift Care clinics, dedicated screening centres, the convenience of hospital at home, our paediatric clinic, and a very handy health assistant app. To join, call today on 1890 444444 or search VHI. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
Unaccompanied learner drivers and the owners of the car they drive.